It is 9:07 a.m. on this Monday, the 9th of June, 2025. This is episode 11-1. Yes, 11 or row sticks, 1111, whatever, man. It's palindrome. It's a lot of sticks. It's a lot of ones. I'm sure there's numerology, but I ain't got time because I'm going to take a bike ride, a long one, later on today. This actually may end up being kind of a shorter show, but what better way to ring in the Monday with a bunch of news about Bitcoin? Because there is news about Bitcoin, although you would think that there would be more. There's not. It's kind of a light day, way to start the week. And with all the bullshit that's going on in LA, it's kind of a nice change of pace that I don't have 15 news stories to go through. So let's just go ahead and crank this puppy dog on up with Adrian Zmunsky. And Tether USDT stablecoin has been seen in the wild on Bolivian store price tags. So in Bolivia, they're actually denoting the prices in Tether. That should be interesting. Let's get into it. Out of Cointelegraph, Tether CEO Paulo Ardoino has shared photos of goods in a Bolivian airport shop priced in the company's stablecoin USDT, suggesting growing unofficial use of the cryptocurrency amid the country's ailing economy. In a Saturday Twitter post, Ardoino shared images of items being priced in USDT in Bolivia, including sunglasses and sweets. And one photo showed a notice to customers that prices were set in USDT. Quote, "Our products are priced in USDT, parentheses Tether, a stable cryptocurrency with a reference price informed daily by the Central Bank of Bolivia based on the rate from Binance, a cryptocurrency trading platform," the notice read. The notice said customers could pay either in local fiat currency, Bolivianos, or US dollars. USDT was used to establish the dollar Bolivianos exchange rate. Interesting. The notice and the items were photographed at Duty Fly, an airport shop offering, of course, duty-free items to its customers. Neither Duty Fly nor Tether responded to Cointelegraph's request for comment. It's unclear how widespread the use of USDT is as a pricing benchmark across the country, but other reports suggest that the stablecoin is gaining considerable popularity in the country. In late October 2024, major local bank Banco Bisa began offering a custody service for USDT, stating that it would enable its clients to buy, sell, and transfer the assets through the bank. Bolivia's economy has been in a very steep decline. The country's usable foreign reserves fell from $15 billion in 2024 to a piddly-ass $2 billion in December of 2024, equivalent to only 2.9 months of imports. Of that amount, less than 50 million was in cash and the rest was in gold. Yeah, well, that's what they say. Bolivia has a thriving black market for US dollars, with the street rate reaching about 10 Bolivianos per dollar as of mid-2024. The current exchange rate is approaching 7 Bolivianos per US dollar. The Bolivian government also spends about $56 million per week importing diesel and gasoline, yet it still faces nationwide shortages. And the consumer price index inflation stood at, 14.6% as of March 2025. One of the photos shared by Ardoino showed a pack of Oreos priced between 15 and 22 USDT, underscoring the rapid erosion of the local currency's purchasing power. Okay, that's the end of the article, but that doesn't make any sense, because a pack of Oreos should not cost $22, because if USDT is pegged to the dollar, and it is, and love it or hate it, it's actually pretty stable as a not even a comparison, but as a stable coin pegged to the dollar, it pretty much holds its value at $1. So you're talking about a pack of Oreos. I'm just going to go ahead and assume it's like your regular family size 3-row full size pack of Oreos and not like a small snack pack of 6. Okay. But still, $22 for 3, what would actually essentially be 3 sleeves of Oreos. Are you insane? That doesn't underscore the rapid erosion of the local currency's purchasing power because it's not priced in the local currency. Unless this article is wrong and it's between 15 and 22 Bolivianos, but I don't think so. I think it's actually costing $15 to $22 to buy Oreos in USDT. So something else is at work there. But also what's even worse is when it says the country's usable foreign reserves fell from 15 billion to 2 billion in 10 years, and that is an equivalent of 2.9 months worth of imports. That's insane. You're telling me that Bolivia, the country, has 3 months worth of working capital as a country to purchase goods and services to be imported into the country, like food and gasoline and all the rest of the stuff. They have 3 months. Remember how we always said, hey, if you live in LA or New York or Chicago or even Dallas or Houston or maybe even Austin, it's getting into some of the smaller cities, although Austin's kind of big, it's not as big as New York. You have 3 days worth of food on the store shelves out of all the stores like that. And your entire city gets drained of all usable food supplies in 3 days. And we talk about that in terms of like a natural disaster or some kind of, solar flare that acts like an electromagnetic pulse and wipes out the, power grid for a few days. It's something on that. But when you're talking about an entire country unable to have any longer than 3 months of being able to buy food and gasoline and other needed items for their country people, that's bad. That looks to me like Bolivia is in much worse shape than their inflation rate seems to suggest. Okay, so let's move on. However, we've got what do we got over here? Oh, let's stay in South America and talk about the Argentine president Milei. He's apparently been cleared of all misconduct related to the Libra promotion, according to a report, and Jamie Crawley from CoinDesk is going to tell us all about it. Argentine President Javier Milei was cleared of wrongdoing over his promotion of the Libra meme coin in February, the Buenos Aires Herald reported on Saturday. Now, the resolution issued Friday by the country's anti-corruption office argued that the president was speaking, quote, as an economist and not a public official when he shared news of Libra on Twitter. The president's personal account, quote, was created long before he was elected the country's president, and even before the beginning of his previous term as deputy, according to the resolution signed by Alejandro Milik, the head of the country's anti-corruption office. Milei's post about the Solana-based meme coin promoted it as a project designed to help small and medium-sized Argentine companies raise capital. Libra surged to a market capitalization of $4.5 billion. He deleted the post only hours later, saying that he had not been aware of the details of the project when he promoted it. In the ensuing sell-off that inevitably occurred, Libra crashed by 90%, wiping out over $4 billion in value. On-chain data from Nansen showed that 86% of traders lost a total of $251 million, with the remainder securing $180 million in profits. To make matters worse, it was revealed Libra's co-creator, Hayden Davis, bragged in text messages about his influence over Milei because of payments he had been making to Karina Milei, the president's sister, and a powerful figure in his government herself. So he's been cleared of all wrongdoing. I guess simply because his Twitter account was made before he was deputy, whatever, prime minister, president, and then he became president. And if that's all it takes to be cleared of wrongdoing, wow. I actually think Milei's probably got like something on the Minister of Anti-Corruption office. It's just, he obviously promoted shit. And this is just so blatantly, I am just so corrupt, I'm just going to take Milei's money. You know, it's like, and I really liked Milei at first, but he really kind of showed his colors when he did the Libra scam. And unless he does something phenomenal, I'm just going to continue to feel that he's just not your guy, man. He's just not. Okay, the Circle P is open for business. And a few words about the Circle P itself before I talk about the vendor of the day. I spent some time with ChatGPT getting it to code me up some what's called vendor cards for the website, specifically for the BitcoinAndShow.com/Circle P page. That's where all the Circle P vendors are. And I now have collected up 5. Now, there's actually more Circle P vendors than that, but I've gotten a couple of people that have just flat out reached out to me to ask to be in the Circle P. And at this point, it seems like it's probably a good idea to go ahead and canonize this thing and, you know, make it have some structure, because the Circle P is designed to kind of to help propel the circular economy that we all want in Bitcoin, but it's going to take all of us to do it. Not any one thing. There's not going to be any one catalyst that causes a Bitcoin circular economy. All right? It's going to take everybody saying, I take Bitcoin for my goods and services, and you better, because if you don't, you're not in the Circle P. Because the Circle P is about bringing plebs that have goods and services, and these guys are just like you. They're regular Joes. Some of these people maybe do it full time. Some of them have it as a side gig. Maybe they want to make it their full-time gig. But unless they get some kind of, advertising from people that have at least some listeners, it becomes hard, and almost nobody has any money for advertising budgets. So I created the Circle P. And what it is I run an ad for one of the people that I think has a good or services for sale in Bitcoin that I think is worthwhile. Either I've tried it, or I just notice that somebody's trying so hard and they need help. I mean, I need help. I've asked you guys on several occasions for help with this show to get the word out, right? How could I just not help my fellow brothers, like people like GreatGhee and Soap Miner and Oshi and Leathermint and Peony Lane? These guys are all trying their best to do the thing that they love and have that be the thing that makes them money, so that they're not actually working. They're just creating value, doing the thing that they want to do. And that's what the Circle P is about. It's about putting people just like you in front of you so that you can choose whether or not to buy their goods and services. And today's featured vendor for the Circle P is GreatGhee, who brings you pasture-raised, grass-fed ghee. What the hell is ghee? Well, it's spelled Ghee. And what it is it's essentially kind of clarified butter. The way that I make my ghee, and I don't sell my ghee because it's that's not my job. I've got people like GreatGhee that do that. But I will do is I will take a whole bunch of butter and I will put it in a pan on a stove, and I mean like a soup pan, not a pot, but like a good size 8-inch soup pan, something like that. I'll put it in there, melt it all down, and slowly cook it. What am I doing? Well, I'm causing all the milk proteins to fall down to the bottom so that they can be strained out. And all I'm left with is the clarified butter, or the butter fat portion of the butter. Because when you get butter, it's a lot of fat, but there's also quite a bit of milk proteins in there. And that's the stuff that can go bad. That's the shit that can go really, really, really bad. But if you cook it for long enough under a lower to medium heat, you got to watch it like a hawk, It's a lot of labor. Then you end up with this beautiful, wonderful, darker colored, clarified butter. And many people make it different ways, but it is a staple in Indian food cooking. If you like Indian food, you are eating amounts of ghee that would probably make you blush. This dude sells his ghee, and it's grass-fed, pasture-raised. He makes it by hand from Jersey cows milked in Southwest Virginia. It's U.S. made in small batches. Just go and the thing is that that GreatGhee does not have a website yet, so he's using Shopstr.store. That is a nostr-based client for selling goods and services using the nostr protocol. All of his information will be in the show notes. URLs directly to the Shopstr shop goes right to his stall, so you can see exactly what we're talking about. He sells for Bitcoin, otherwise he wouldn't be in the Circle P. I have not tried his ghee yet. He is saying that he's going to send me some so that I can try it, but GreatGhee is one of the vendors for the Circle P. Why? Because he's trying. He's trying, man. We all get to do this. We can all just make things, but we all can't just advertise. We all can't just throw the money at Facebook ads. We can't just all go to Google ads, right? Some of us just don't have the money. That's what the Circle P is about. It's about plebs helping plebs. Now, on to the blockchain group, which has unveiled a $342 million share issuance as a plan to acquire more Bitcoin, because they're, I guess, turning into a treasury company themselves. James Hunt from The Block tells us about this new entrant from Europe, which is Europe's first Bitcoin treasury company, named the Blockchain Group, has announced a $342.5 million at-the-market style program on Monday to acquire more Bitcoin. I love how at-the-market is also the acronym ATM, Automated Teller Machine. And functionally, it works the same way. The Blockchain Group has signed a standby capital increase agreement at market price with TOBAM, a French asset manager and strategic investor in the Euronext Growth Paris-listed firm. Folger Ventures, David Bailey's UTXO Management, and Blockstream CEO Dr. Adam Back are also among its shareholders. The program allows TOBAM to request new shares each day after market close, priced at the higher of the previous day's closing price or the volume-weighted average price, capped at 21%, of course 21, of that day's trading volume. It enables capital increases to be carried out in tranches up to the total value established for an initial 6 months. However, TOBAM and the Blockchain Group's board of directors may choose to extend, renew, or not renew this limit, the firm said in a statement. During the program, the company will regularly update the market on new shares issued, including their number, price, and timing, as well as the number of Bitcoin acquired, and track Bitcoin per share on a fully diluted basis. Any suspension, termination, or change to the program will also be announced. Yeah, it better. Last week, the Blockchain Group disclosed that it had completed the purchase of 624 Bitcoin for about $68.7 million, bringing its current total holdings to 1,471 Bitcoin, which is worth around $158 million. The Blockchain Group's program is similar to U.S.-style at-the-market or ATM offerings, such as those used by, of course, Saylor Strategy, where capital increases happen at market conditions and the counterparty's request, and the counterparty's request. However, unlike a typical ATM, where a financial intermediary systematically sells the shares and does not intend to retain them, TOBAM may choose to keep the shares it acquires and act as a shareholder, the firm said. TOBAM provides no placement nor underwriting services and receives no compensation from the company for this transaction, unlike the financial intermediary in a regular ATM program. There are now 144 companies that have adopted some of the Bitcoin treasury, or rather some form of a Bitcoin treasury, with Tether-backed 21, Nakamoto, Trump Media, and GameStop recently joining the likes of Similar Scientific and KULR, which I will talk about in the later half of the show, in adopting the Bitcoin acquisition model pioneered by Saylor and Strategy. Last week, MetaPlanet announced a $5.4 billion equity raise to purchase yet more Bitcoin. So there you go. Everybody's getting into the game. And again, is it a fad? Yeah, probably. At this point, I'm not really enjoying what I'm seeing. Will it kill Bitcoin? No. Will it hurt the price if shit comes crashing down? Yes. Okay, how long will that last? Near to medium term. That's your answer. It's not hopeful, but it's not, hey, we're all going to die. But it's the truth, right? Some of these companies are going to start going belly up, whether they've got Bitcoin or not. Or it could actually go in a completely opposite direction. Let's say that I'm 100% wrong and that the market is unable to overwhelm Bitcoin in all of its framing. What do I mean by that? Do you frame Bitcoin as money? Do you frame Bitcoin as a store of value? Do you frame Bitcoin or you could also say look at it through the lens of, like, do I look at Bitcoin through the lens of being market, manipulated by market? Do I look at it in the framework of, does paper Bitcoin exist in the market? What if I'm completely wrong? What if the market, and I mean the entire market, what Microsoft thinks of Bitcoin as what people think of Microsoft's stock price or Amazon's price or what the pleb on the street or the institutional investor, I'm talking the whole shebang, ladies and gentlemen. What if it doesn't have the power to overwhelm Bitcoin any longer? And the very worst treasury company, like just list all the treasury companies or Bitcoin treasury companies, list them all on a sheet of paper and find the one that is the dog, the worst dog with the worst fleas, that is like just grime, filth-ridden, starving, half to death, almost zombie-like. And even it can't fail because it actually holds some amount of real Bitcoin on its balance sheet. What if? Well, if that were the case and that was proven out and it was very evident to everybody in the market, then you would see an absolute price fucking explosion, because it would be the insulator that every zombie company and every company that might be failing in its commitment to bring products or services to market has been looking for, like, since forever. It could go that way, but I get the feeling that there will be a couple of these things that just flat out implode. It won't be the big ones, but there could be one or two. But I think the smaller ones, like I'd be looking at Similar Scientific, whose stock price does not look all that good compared to when they started buying Bitcoin. It looked good for a while, but they're kind of like back to right when they started. Their stock price is back to right when they started buying Bitcoin. So for some people, it's not working as well as for other people. So it is what it is. But let's go ahead and run the numbers. Commodities and futures. Oil, West Texas Intermediate, up a third to 64.83. Wow. There seems to be some kind of rally going on in the oil market starting yesterday. Oil markets, oil futures and commodities and stuff like that, they open at 3:00 p.m. on Sunday here in the United States because other countries are already open for business. So oil's been trading since 3:00 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time yesterday. Brent North Sea is also up a third to 66.68. Natural gas down 4 to $3.63 per thousand cubic feet, and gasoline is up a third to $2.08 a gallon. All your metal rocks are having a small rally today, some bigger than others. Gold is worst performing metal today. after it's up only a quarter of a point to 33.54 and 3 dimes. Silver is up 1.8%. Platinum is up almost 4.5%. Copper is up 1.5%. And palladium is up just over 3 points. Ag is fully mixed, but kind of leaning on the red side. Biggest winner is coffee, 1.25 to the upside. Biggest loser is going to be wheat, over 2 points to the downside. Meanwhile, live cattle is up a quarter, lean hogs down 1/10 of a point, and feeder cattle is basically crab walking sideways. As is the Dow, it's down 0.05%. S&P is up 0.13. NASDAQ is up a quarter, and the S&P Mini is also up a quarter. Bitcoin, wow, Bitcoin's rallying this morning, $108,040. We have a $2.15 trillion market cap. We can get 32.1 ounces of our favorite shiny metal rock. I know it just hit me of what Peter Schiff said on Twitter. If you don't know what he said, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to go look at it for yourself. It's wow. Talk about just not reading the fucking room. Holy mother of God. We can get 32.1 ounces of shiny metal rocks with our one Bitcoin, of which there are 19,876,363 and 3/4 of. Average fees per block are very, very low today. 0.03 BTC taken in fees on a per block basis, of which there is only one. There can be only one block, which is carrying at the moment 1,500 transactions, waiting to clear at ultra high rates of high priorities at 1 Satoshi per VByte. Low priorities necessarily is going to be 1 Satoshi per VByte. And I'm not seeing that much of a change in hash rate. 888.9 exahashes per second. We're still way, way, way up there. So, do with that what you want. And from Revolution Server, Friday's BitcoinAnd episode, I got Late Stage Hodl with 1,000 says, no need for further explanation. I'm not a huge nerd for Bill and Ted's, but I immediately understood the reference when you explained it. I had an English teacher who always said, if you don't get the illusion, you don't get the joke. I doubt I came up with the word plebconomy, but I hope I did. Also love Wallace and Gromit. Keep up the good work, sir. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, Wallace and Gromit is awesome. If, again, for those who have never seen Wallace and Gromit, you're totally missing out. Some of the best short claymation, funny AF. I love almost everything that they've ever produced. Psyduck with 713 says, Psyduck, Yodel 511, more solenoid transformer talk. He actually spells it transformer. Paul Surnine 500, thanks for another valuable episode and for continuously sharing your insights. I totally agree that Switzerland today is but a shadow of the country only a few decades ago. This not only applies to the financial sector, by the way. Politics has ruined a thriving country, and nobody has to be responsible because bread and games are cheap and abundant. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. What Switzerland needs is a new movement like the Reform Party in the UK, who's willing to change quite a lot of things and have enough guts to see the task through to completion. Yeah, I'm continuously surprised that Switzerland fell as far, but moreover, as fast as it did. That's the speed of which Switzerland just said, I give up. All of you in Europe suck, so we want to suck right along with you, so it's a race to the bottom. I would have never suspected that from a country like Switzerland, but Turkey actually says something, 500 sats, and he says, one day I might say something. I like how you think. Turkey with another 500 just basically post the episode URL. Pies with 100. Thank you, sir. No thank you, and that's the weather report. Welcome to part 2 of the news that you can use. Bitcoin developers call for implementation of CTV and CSFS. There's a letter to the community apparently, and Atlas 21 is going to tell us all about it. A portion of the Bitcoin developer community appears to have reached consensus regarding the next protocol upgrade. An open letter signed by over 40 experts. I always cringe now when I hear somebody say the experts. Anyway, in an open letter signed by over 40 experts requests the priority implementation of two opcodes. Op check template verify, CTV BIP 119, and op check sig from stack, CSFS or BIP 348. The developers believe that activating CTV and CSFS constitutes the most appropriate next step for Bitcoin's evolution. The letter emphasizes how, despite the existence of various proposals to improve the protocol, CTV and CSFS stand out for being extensively reviewed, for their implementation simplicity, and for proving to be both secure and widely requested by the community. CTV, 5 years of development and refinement. So OpCheck Template Verify was first formalized in BIP 119 over 5 years ago. Despite numerous attempts at refinement or replacement, it remains the preferred method for enforcing pre-generated transaction sequences using consensus the developers state. According to the letter's signatories, implementing CTV on Bitcoin would unlock functionality for the following: scaling solutions, secure vault systems, network congestion control, not that we have much right now, but you never know. Non-custodial mining is number 4, and 5, discrete log contracts, or DLCs. Then we come to CSFS, 8 years of proven experience. The developers declare that op check sig from stack is a primitive opcode implemented on the open source Blockstream Elements platform for at least 8 years. It does not represent a significant computational burden compared to Bitcoin's most used opcode, op check sig, the document's signatories state. When combined with CTV, CSFS enables Lightning Network symmetry, an improvement for Lightning Network. Additionally, it unlocks a variety of other use cases. The letter's signatories ask Bitcoin Core contributors to prioritize and review. I just messed up. The signatories have asked Bitcoin Core contributors to prioritize the review and integration of CTV and CSFS within the next 6 months. This timeline is considered appropriate to allow for rigorous final review and activation planning. The letter was signed by over 40 figures from the Bitcoin community, including developers such as Andrew Polstra, Callie, Christian Decker, and Robin Linus, along with representatives from industry companies such as Chung Wang from F2 Pool, representatives from Zeus, Luxor Mining, Marapool, and Cake Wallet. That's going to be a tall ask because from what I saw this morning, Bitcoin Core has merged the pull request that apparently takes all the filters on Bitcoin Core nodes and basically flushed it down the toilet. However you think about that is your business, right? And I'm not going to say anything about on either direction because I'm trying to remain neutral on that whole thing. But people are pissed. People are pissed. People are calling for a fork of Bitcoin. We've been here before. So for all of you that are following this but are like have gotten into Bitcoin after the block size wars in 2016, 17, and 8 and finishing up early 2018, if you got in to Bitcoin after that and this is somehow scaring you, do not be scared. I was fucking terrified in 2017. I had gotten in 2015. I had seen none of the crap that came before, but I'd certainly started becoming very, very attuned to what was going on with Bitcoin after I bought my first Bitcoin at the end of summer of 2020 or 2015. So what did I wade into? Well, I waded right into the pre-battlefield conditions of what would become the block size wars. Pretty much through the very end of 2016, it started getting hot. All through 2017, it started getting really scary, and then the fork that became Bitcoin Cash happened, or as lovers of the protocol or haters of the protocol, we call it Bcash because it's actually a better name. And Roger Ver hates it, so we continuously call it Bcash. But it was the Bitcoin Cash hard fork, right? And and I won't get into it, but it brought a whole lot of problems. There was a whole lot of, we don't know what the hell's going to happen. And it turns out that what happened is exactly what you see. Bcash is a failed fork. Hardly anybody uses it. It doesn't have anywhere close to the value of Bitcoin. Will it be the same this time? No, it'll probably be different, but we don't know in what way it might be different. And I'm not even saying at this point, I haven't even given up and saying that there will be a fork. I'm just saying that all of this has happened before. And all of this will happen again. If one of the major, I think it's the opening line to the actual book, Peter Pan, that then became the movie for Disney. It doesn't matter, man. Bitcoin's going to be fine. And if for whatever reason a hard fork happens, guess what? And this is a huge if, and we again, all this has happened before, all this will happen again. Back in the day when there was going to be a look like there might be a fork, you know what the call to action was for everybody? Instead of losing your ever-loving mind and setting yourself on fire in a self-immolation way and running around the block, screaming at the top of your lungs before you fell over dead from being on fire, it was to get your Bitcoin off exchanges and put it into a wallet that you control. Not somebody else, not a non-custodial wallet, or rather a custodial wallet. You self-custody the Bitcoin under a wallet address that you control with a seed phrase that you spun up using however it is you spun it up. I used a cold card. That's how I did mine, right? Why? Because if a fork happens and you hold the keys to the coins, which means you're holding the coins yourself, then you will have the exact same amount of Bitcoin on the other chain if and when it goes live. How does that work? Because when you fork it, and you fork it from a date, if you hold any coins at all, any Satoshis at all, before that fork date, that fork is a complete and total copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. So if you held coins on this chain, whatever fork happens, you will hold the exact same amount of Satoshis on that chain, right? That was very important for people to understand, because there were people that had their Bitcoin in places where they were not allowed to take the coins on the other chain. I immediately sold every single Bitcoin Cash that I ended up with directly for more Bitcoin, right? You do whatever it is you want to do, but you need to make sure that you have all your coins in your possession. If you hold Bitcoin in a BlackRock ETF, do you know who's going to take possession of the coins if a fork happens? BlackRock. Do you think they're going to give them to you? No, that would not be the assumption that I would make. Get your coins into your own possession. Even if there wasn't a threat of a fork, you need to do this shit forthwith. Let's move on to KULR Technology as they join Bitcoin for Corporations and increase their holdings to 920 Bitcoin. This is written by Oscar Perez from Bitcoin Magazine. KULR Technology Group, a Bitcoin-first company and global leader in sustainable energy management, announced that it has now joined the Bitcoin for Corporations, or BFC initiative, an institutional platform by Strategy and Bitcoin Magazine to promote corporate Bitcoin adoption. The initiative is made to support publicly traded companies in integrating Bitcoin into their corporate treasury strategies and balance sheets. Participating organizations gain access to institutional-grade tools, frameworks, and peer networks that support the responsible management and expansion of Bitcoin holdings. KULR's role as an executive member of BFC aligns with its strategy to position Bitcoin as a long-term reserve asset. Quote, "Our commitment to Bitcoin for corporations reflects a strong conviction in Bitcoin's long-term value as a monetary asset. As KULR continues to scale its Bitcoin treasury, we welcome the chance to align with other institutions pioneering this shift in corporate treasury management," CEO of KULR, Michael Moe, commented. And this didn't get too terribly indebted to the suit speak until the very end, so I'll give him points for that. KULR also has increased its Bitcoin treasury by $13 million, bringing total holdings to 920 BTC at an average acquisition price of a mere $98,000 per Bitcoin. The company's total Bitcoin investment now stands at $91 million. And the latest purchase was made at an average purchase price of $107,861 per Bitcoin. And year to date, KULR has delivered a 260% return on its Bitcoin holdings. They use a strategic mix of cash reserves and its at-the-market, or ATM, equity program to fund their acquisitions. On July the 25th, 2024, at the 2024 Bitcoin Conference, Strategy and Bitcoin Magazine announced the launch of Bitcoin for Corporations, which at the time was a new initiative designed to help companies integrate Bitcoin into their treasury strategies. I'd almost forgotten about this, by the way. The program provides corporate leaders with educational resources, practical tools, and access to a network of peers and experts. It includes a co-branded web platform offering specialized content, newsletters, and success stories. Because where would we be without our success stories, as well as VIP access to events? Because, hey, hookers and blow. Can't go wrong, bro. Quote, "The Bitcoin for Corporations initiative is a significant step forward to accelerating corporate Bitcoin adoption," added co-founder and former CEO of Strategy, Michael Saylor. Quote, "By combining our expertise, resources, and reach, along with Bitcoin Magazine, we aim to create a robust platform that educates and supports corporations in implementing Bitcoin strategies." And it worked. You got a lot of corporations that are getting into Bitcoin now. It took 2.5 years, but hey, it's happening. And Strategy is not out of the news yet, because Vivek Sen says from Bitcoin Magazine that Strategy has announced this morning that it bought $110 million worth of Bitcoin, which is a piddly-ass amount compared to some of their other buys. I mean, it's only 1,045 Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. It's just disgusting. It's horrible. I can't believe Michael Saylor can look at himself in the mirror at this point by this ant-sized Bitcoin buy. I'm shocked and appalled, and I'm frightened and confused. I'm not sure if Michael Saylor really understands Bitcoin at this point. Otherwise, he would have just said, fuck it, I'm buying the rest of it. Anyway, he bought it for $110.2 million and further cements its position as the largest corporate Bitcoin holder as institutional adoption continues to accelerate in 2025. According to an SEC filing on June the 9th, that would be today, the company purchased the Bitcoin at an average price of $105,426 per coin last week, bringing its total holdings to 582,000 BTC. The acquisition was funded through Strategies at the market, or ATM, sales of Strike and Strife preferred stocks. And he's got Stride is like on the horizon if they haven't already pulled the trigger on that son of a bitch. I want to go back and I want to reiterate that it's almost like it's a psyop that these companies are using this thing called ATM. at the market. What exactly does it mean? It means that when they need money, they sell you stock and you buy it. And if you don't buy it, somebody else will buy it. Somebody somewhere is going to buy it for cash. And then all of a sudden they get the cash. It's like going to an ATM machine where you put in your card. And you type in some numbers and it spits out the cash, and you take the cash and you go do what it's like a psyop. It's like, oh, well, anybody can just go to the market and get money like an ATM machine. It's just like an automated teller machine, like ATM machine. That's redundant. That means automated teller machine. But you get what I'm saying, right? It's not special. The ATM for a company is just you. The ATM for you is your bank. So does that makes you MicroStrategy's bank? Stop buying this crap. Just use your money wisely and just buy Bitcoin. Even MetaPlanet bought Bitcoin. They plan to buy more Bitcoin, and it's going to be historic. That's the word used by Bitcoin Magazine. Watch out when people use the word historic. Generally speaking, it doesn't become history, but MetaPlanet plans a historic $5.4 billion equity raise to buy 210,000 Bitcoin. Japanese investment firm MetaPlanet announced this massive plan to increase its Bitcoin holdings to 210,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2027, and that's right around 1% of the total Bitcoin supply. The Tokyo-listed company is accelerating its already aggressive Bitcoin plan, with CEO Simon Gurovich calling the initiative, quote, Asia's largest ever equity raise to buy Bitcoin. Again, end quote. They mostly come at night. Mostly. The company's new capital raise, called the 555 million plan, wow, involves issuing 555 million shares through moving strike warrants. That's basically a type of option where people can buy shares later. And the price they pay depends on the stock's price at that time. Just doesn't make any fucking sense anymore. So with moving strike warrants, the price at which people can buy the stock goes up or down depending on how the company's stock is doing. This sounds like you're just buying the stock whenever it is that you decide to buy the stock. Stop it. It gives investors more flexibility. What, like buying stock on Wednesday rather than a Tuesday? And it can make the warrants more attractive because they don't get stuck with a bad deal if the stock price drops. Like, what? Jeez, this way, the company can raise capital gradually over the next 2 years without impacting the stock market and existing shareholders. The funds raised will be used to buy Bitcoin, with some to redeem bonds and other income-generating strategies like, selling put options. This is a big step up from MetaPlanet's previous targets, initially aiming to reach 10,000 BTC by the end of 2025. And the company now plans to reach 30,000 BTC by the end of this year, 100,000 by the end of next year, and 210,000 by the end of 2027. The firm hopes to be in the Bitcoin 1% club, which means holding at least 1% of the total 21 million Bitcoin supply. MetaPlanet is already making good progress because as of June 2025, the company holds 8,888 BTC acquired at a cost of about $849 million and has already reached 89% of its original 10,000 BTC price or target for 2025. And then they go on talking about all these other companies that are doing the exact same shit. So we don't need that. It's historic. It's another Bitcoin treasury company, which has unlocked the potential to go to an ATM to get money. I know I sound like I'm just poo-pooing everything, but come on. You got to see it for what it is. As long as there's enough rubes with enough cash walking around, people like Sailor and this guy from MetaPlanet are going to take their money. And honestly, I can't really blame them. If you're stupid enough to give me $100 for a $4 shoe shine, I'm going to take your $100. I'm not going to make any excuses whatsoever about how it's a $4 shoe shine. Dude, you paid $100 for a $4 shoe shine. You got had. Yeah, this is ridiculous. All you really have to do is just buy Bitcoin. So again, let me go back to what I said in the first part of the show. If this entire ATM, Bitcoin treasury company, debt-riddled instrumentation bullshit, if the crap hits the fan and this entire thing pops and goes away, what's going to happen to the price of Bitcoin? It's going to fall. How far will it fall? I don't know. I'll just say it, 60%. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, it's going to be more than 10%, but it's not going to zero. So I'll give it a nice round number of 60% because, hey, we've seen it before. How long will it last, David? I don't know, a couple of years? Maybe not even that. Maybe not even that. Will it happen? Fuck, I don't know. Like I said, there's a huge question mark in the back of my head. All this shit may work for these companies. They may be able to draw an infinite amount of money from these ATM machines these ATMs that they have. You're the bank. They're getting your money, but hey, whatever. There could be an infinite amount of cash that just continuously flows their way to buy, and people buy in MicroStrategy stock and Stride and Strife and Strike and then other, derivative people that are coming along and hey, I want a piece of this shit too. And it's like this Misty thing, which is giving, I don't know, just telling people that they're making people are saying that they're making 8.9 to 10% yield. On what? What's generating the yield? What product is being sold? Right? What service is being rented? How are you generating revenue to generate this quote unquote yield? Especially if it's a derivative. What is a derivative? It's a bet on something real. It's a bet. That's what a futures contract is. It's a bet on the price of oil or the price of silver or the price of gold or frozen concentrated orange juice. If you understand that movie reference, give yourself 2 points. It's a fucking bet. How can me betting on the Chargers in the Super Bowl generate a yield? The only yield that it can generate is if I win, and at that point, the bet is extinguished. This is a rolling yield on a rolling bet. If people in the future will ask, Granddaddy, how did we end up living in a soup bowl underneath the fucking bridge? And I'll point to derivatives in the market and idiots wearing suits thinking that they're really important because they haven't lost their ass yet. None of these instrumentations are good for you, right? I guess I have to say it. This is not investment advice, so you won't sue me when all of a sudden in the short term you go, if I hadn't listened to David and I had bought a fuck ton of Misty, I'd be rich by now. Well, sure, go ahead. Man, I'm just going to buy Bitcoin. And you know what that means? It means that I'll be able to see you on the other side. This has been BitcoinAnd, and I'm your host, David Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.